On the next all-new episode of My Hero Academia.
Precious High-Ends, it's time! Awaken! Slaughter this hero and those who follow!
Kill all of them.
My Hero Academia, next Saturday at midnight.
This is great. Now that I'm warmed up, the fun can really begin.
Only Toonami on Adult Swim. On the next all-new episode of Made in Abyss.
It's that massive beast! My arm got chipped! There's gotta be something I can grab!
It would be wise to leave as soon as possible.
Made in Abyss, Saturday at 12:30. Only Toonami on Adult Swim.
Hello everyone, welcome to Toonami Therapy. Today on November 18th of 2022. I'm Michael.
I'm Tommy.
And last time I mentioned something, I was saying, I wonder which will happen first. We'll find out what My Hero Academia's replacement will be, or we'll find out the results of the election. Well, I guess it kind of depends on how you define the results, but if we're if you're talking about who actually won which chamber, then that came out before Toonami.
That's right.
Even if we don't know all this stuff, but that's boring political stuff. That's not stuff that matters. Let's talk about important things like fictional cartoons. Okay. So, yes, so we'll be starting with the Toonami stuff. We'll also, because Lycoris Recoil was finishing, we were thinking, okay, we need to start out we need to find a replacement, and we kind of looked at some possible replacements, two of the newer shows. So we'll be discussing Chainsaw Man and Blue Lock, and also we were originally going to watch RWBY Ice Queendom, but then that kind of ended up being put to the side because they took forever to get the dub out, and we watched Lycoris Recoil instead, which actually worked out pretty well. So we'll be discussing that stuff and deciding what we'll be finishing up after we go through the other things. So now let's go through that. So we'll be starting out with Toonami. So we've got Made in Abyss episode 15. So in a weird thing, because last episode they were getting attacked by the things from the sky, or was that in the episode? Is it possible that was actually a preview and I thought it was the end of the episode? Huh.
Yeah.
I'm suddenly, I don't know, but I just suddenly realized that, but now I can't really look right now. So anyway, they end up taking cover and go to sleep. Something or other comes in while they're asleep and steals stuff from them, including apparently cutting off some of their hair. So they go to look for it, and they find a place where there's a bunch of weird sort of animal monster things, which I think are supposed to just be, because the curse of the abyss was once you go back a certain amount, if you come back up then you lose your humanity. Which is why they're all like that. So, that was basically the episode.
Yeah. And not as interesting of an episode, I thought. But it was okay.
Apparently, the name of when you get turned into those weird sort of monster things from the abyss, apparently they're called hollows. I'm too lazy to make a Bleach joke. Figure it out yourself. But yeah, it is kind of weird, because whoever took it did all that stuff, and then they also apparently let animals eat the hair they took, and then stitched up the animal's butt so that it wouldn't come out to be shown, except the animals died. That was kind of quick. Also, so heroes remove the stitches and then find out there's a hair. I don't know. That was all very weird. Was that like another? Was the whole point of that just another weird sort of fetish thing like the author seems to sometimes do?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, there was actually one thing that was that he did as kind of a joke, which is where they're trying to have a balloon float up to give a message, but then immediately this bird just grabs it. Okay, so after that we go to Yashahime episode 38. So Kirin Maru is trying to make Moroha get him I can't remember. He wants her to get the MacGuffin, basically. Then Sesshomaru shows up, but Sesshomaru shows up and fights him, and then there's a big fight thing between them, and let's see. Oh yeah, trying to think.
Inuyasha and Kagome show up.
Yeah, I got that. I was just trying to remember. Did we see Sesshomaru lose, or did they, or did we explicitly see that, or did it look like he was struggling? Because the girls all got transported elsewhere, and I'm trying to remember what we saw at the end of the fight before that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think he was losing, and the others got transported away from him for safety. And then they encounter Kagome and Inuyasha.
Mm-hmm. They have their tearful, not goodbye, but
reunion.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say. Yeah, I thought that was pretty good. I was hoping it wouldn't be some little thing where they got mad at each other, or she was too. I don't know. I'm trying to articulate that. It's called tsundere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was hoping it wouldn't be too much tsundere in this situation, and it wasn't. So there's a little bit, but I was like, I can't have Kagome going and getting upset over this because it'll spoil the moment. And she was all right. So that was a pretty good episode, I thought.
Yeah, initially it did look like they were going to go for a more comedic bent, with Kagome apparently being annoyed with Moroha. It would be like, oh, they get reunited, but she's annoyed about something. But then it turned out, no, it was because she was suspicious and didn't initially believe it was Moroha. So
right.
That's why she was like that. Yeah, so 38 episodes into the series, we finally see the main Inuyasha and Kagome in the I want to say in the present tense, but it's the past. Basically, we see. Let me rephrase that. 38 episodes into the series, we finally see Inuyasha and Kagome outside of a flashback. Well, technically, we did see them in the first episode, so I'm not going to count that. But since then, it has just been a flashback. So finally, wait. A few episodes ago, we briefly saw them. Okay, new thing. 38 episodes into the series, we finally have Inuyasha and Kagome interact with the main characters of this series. There. Booyah.
Yeah.
Got it right. yeah, so nice we finally got that through. So yeah, and I guess not much else to say, so I guess we can move on to it.
Yeah.
To One Piece episode 595. They let's see. So they're still trying to find the samurai guy. I can't remember if they've said his name or not. I'm looking.
Do you know his name?
Yeah, I know his name. I'm just not sure if they've technically said it. I mean, it's not. Look, it's Kinemon. It's Kinemon.
Huh.
I'm not sure exactly how it's pronounced, but it doesn't matter. It's not like a spoiler. I'm just looking at the episode description on to refresh my memory on Wikipedia, and it just says the samurai. So I'm gonna guess he must not have had his name stated yet, which is kind of surprising considering how long he's been around. But anyway, and he's basically freezing and stuff because he can't use his power because one of the remaining parts of his body is apparently underwater, and that prevents you from using your devil fruit abilities. It's actually kind of funny to think, oh, I could just take off part of you and dunk in water, and now you're useless. So they find, let's see. So they find that some of the other ones are going to, like, go back to the lab and stuff, and we have the other things where some of them end up joining the marine fight, and but the big thing is that the character is cause it was Zoro, Brook, and Sanji. They found samurai guy Kinemon, and then they end up so they're trying to find the stuff there, and I'm sure there's some other stuff, but One Piece is always such a blur to me.
And Nami is still in that other body, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do recall thinking that it is a little funny that we've kept saying, oh, all these episodes felt like half an episode, but since they switched to being one episode per week, it seems like it actually doesn't feel so bad.
Yeah, that is surprising. It doesn't seem to be too much of padding as usual.
Yeah, I mean, there's still padding and stuff, and the chapter to episode ratio still seems to be about the same, but it does it does show us that it does at least feel like more stuff is happening per episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's One Piece. Okay. We can move on to our stuff that is not on Toonami. Okay. Did you want to do Lycoris Recoil or wait on it, or?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
We can do Lycoris Recoil now. Yeah.
Sure. We got Lycoris Recoil, episode 13, The End. So, basically, Majima wants to fight Chisato, so he makes it so no one can interfere with them, and says he's got a bomb that'll go off if she doesn't defeat him. They do fight a bunch, and eventually manage to and then Takina shows up, of course, and manages to help. Majima is apparently killed, but then it turns out that all the bomb stuff was actually fireworks, and he was nothing.
Yeah.
Then I can't remember the name of the other guy. The guy who in the previous episode was trying to do that whole thing of making Chisato kill him in order to get the heart, and she wouldn't. But then what's his name? Outside of Takina and Chisato and Majima, and Walnut, I can't remember anyone's names. The older black guy. he ends up killing that guy and presumably gets the stuff because Chisato ends up waking up in a hospital, apparently cured, and then we find out after that happened, she just decides to hightail it out of there. And leave. Takina finds her, and then she and some of the other people from the cafe just go over to where she is, which is Hawaii, I think, is where. No, they went to Hawaii, but I think she was in a different place originally. Anyway, and then they just open up a new restaurant thing there. Also, Majima is still alive, apparently, because I guess you want to leave that open in case you get a second season. And that was the end, at least for now, of Lycoris Recoil.
Yeah. I thought it was a pretty good ending. I thought the fireworks thing was pretty funny.
Mm-hmm.
And good to see everything got wrapped up. So, yeah, no complaints from me about that.
Yeah, after seeing this ending, because it definitely leaves things open for another season, and there are some things that aren't really completely resolved. Like, I'm thinking, like, they went out to establish, there's a boys version of Lycoris called Lilybell, but they don't really end up mattering much. I mean, there's a part where, they were going to go and kill them all if they didn't manage to cover up the Lycoris thing, but that could have been done by, like, any generic group. So that kind of goes nowhere. If I remember correctly, last episode there was some hint that one of the Lycoris, I can't remember her name, one of the main ones that's not the main characters, but like knew one of them, but we didn't get anything on that. Maybe it was in a previous episode and I missed it. So I don't know. We might get more. The series was apparently pretty popular in Japan, so we very well could see a second season for this.
And it's not based on a manga, is it?
No, there is, however, a manga adaptation of it.
Yeah,
it was when? Let me just check. Yeah, Lycoris Recoil. It started in July, and they started the manga adaptation, in September, towards the end of the anime's run. And apparently there's also a spin-off light novel they released then. So I can't imagine they would be doing this sort of stuff for the anime if it wasn't pretty darn popular. So I'm going to assume that it is, and that means we'll probably maybe be getting some kind of second season at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, definitely was a popular one. So yeah, we might get another, or maybe we won't. They haven't said anything at all, but I'm just saying the series, given the possibility, the thing that they did leave some things not completely resolved, and the fact it was popular, I can easily see it coming back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they've got a pretty good cast of characters that they could do more with. There's certainly more I wanted to see about the DA and if it was corrupt or not or whatever. There was still some things that could have been explored.
Yeah, that was something that was kind of weird. I can't remember if I mentioned this last week, but it does seem like the series opened up kind of like almost making it seem, it's all sinister and stuff, and then for most of the rest of the series it's like, no, they're totally fine outside of that whole part. Let's at the end where we're going to have to kill all these people to try to cover the thing up, except that even that wasn't it. It seemed DA itself, it was like some higher organization still that was ordering that, because the person who was in charge of the Lycoris, or maybe it was DA, like that, she like was trying to make it so that it would be covered up so that they could avoid that whole thing. I remember that. And there is, I guess, I saw some people also mention there's also the fact that they kind of are using a bunch of child soldiers, but I mean it's anime. If it didn't bother you in Naruto or World Trigger, although to be fair, World Trigger did, although unfortunately not in the series itself, did give an explanation for that in one of the volume extras. The reason they have so many kids in Border is because to make your Treon and stuff work, for anyone unfamiliar with World Trigger, that's basically their chakra or nen or whatever. You need to be exercise. It stops maturing at around like the age of 20, so it's important you get people and train them to use it and stuff at a younger age, so that it'll be at its while it still can be developed and stuff. So yeah, it does seem like I don't know. I guess we'll see. I don't want to speculate too much about what might happen in a season that might not never happen. But yeah, for the most part, this was a pretty decent series. Glad we watched it, and as I saw a lot of people mention, in the mostly kind of the summer season was seen as mostly kind of lackluster. So this was definitely like one of the standouts for it. All right. So, all right. We got anything else you wanted to say?
No, that's pretty much it for that. Okay.
Yeah, I got that. Oh yeah, and for the record, if it's after if for anyone who puts much stock in the My Anime List ratings, which for the most part I don't, but I did want to note that this was the highest rated, it was the highest rated new anime for its season and the second highest rated overall. Made in Abyss Season 2 beat it out. Yeah, so, alright, JoJo.
Alright.
Stone Ocean, episodes 9 and 10. So we got 2 episodes here, basically. The first... Well, we've been doing 2 episodes this whole time, but I mean they're like separate stories. The first one is just kind of a standalone thing in which they end up making a bet with someone about being able to, throw a ball back and forth every 10 seconds, which, because this is JoJo, are very, very long seconds.
Yeah, and it's like something very, very insignificant, and it turns into something really big.
Yeah, because it turns out that they have a stand that, forces you to keep your bets and stuff. So they managed to go through all of it and managed to beat it. And the moral of this is, if you're in a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure series, never make a bet with someone because there's a very high chance they'll have a stand that can take advantage of it. This is like, depending on how you count it, this is the second or third time this happened. We had the guy who did like the card gambling thing in Stardust Crusaders Part 3, and then we had his brother who showed up later, which was kind of that. I don't think it was explicitly gambling, but that was the guy who was making them play the video games against him and stuff.
Yeah. So they like to do that where they have something that seems so insignificant and they turn it into like a big event,
Okay. So that was that episode. Then the second one is more plot relevant in that Jolene wants to try to get the disc with her father's personality or whatever to Speedwagon Foundation, manages to talk with someone on the phone, and tell her that she needs to get to the courtyard in 20 minutes. So she's trying to get there, ends up along the way encountering the kid again, who's I can't remember his name, but we do meet another guy whose name is the trademark friendly Weather Forecast, rather than the original Weather Report in the Japanese.
Weather Report? What's that the name of?
let me double check on that. Weather report. It's the name of a American jazz fusion band.
Oh, okay. I'd never heard of them before.
Well, he did use up most of the really big names already, so
yeah, he's right. He's scraping the bottom of the barrel now.
Well, according to Wikipedia, it says Weather Report is widely considered one of the defining bands of the jazz fusion genre. So maybe they are big. It's just, I mean, I don't know anything about jazz fusion. I didn't even know that was a thing until just now. Like, what even is this? It's when musicians combine jazz harmony with an improvisation with rock music, funk, and rhythm and blues. Stuff like that. So, well, the bottom line is it is another one where the name got switched. Anyway, so he has the power to control weather, or at least like the atmosphere, into basically sort of controlling the weather. I mean, the place where he is, it's not like he does the skies and stuff. He can still do it inside by, making clouds and stuff appear. Anyway, so Jolene's trying to get there quickly, but there's an enemy stand user, as usual, who has the power to manipulate gravity, it seems. So she runs into some trouble there. They do seem to maybe defeat him, but she still is, has to get to the courtyard in time. And that was, no, they didn't defeat him. They drove, he ran off and they were going after him. That was what was going on. Yes.
Yeah.
This is what and yeah, that was the end of part 1 of this one, which will continue in the next week. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty entertaining.
Yeah, they were fun episodes. Even if the first one, I mean, you can say it didn't really contribute much, but I mean, that's the case of a whole lot of stand battles, really, if you look back. As long as they're fun to watch, that's fine. And it was fun to watch. Yeah, so we'll see where things go. We did get another character introduced, another character who's featured in the theme, who's featured like as an apparently important character in the theme song.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I should stop watching those because it always tells me who's going to be around and stuff.
Yeah.
Then again, it made me think, oh, well, that one character didn't die. She's in the theme song. And then it turns out, no, they did die. It's just this other person just took their body and they're the main character. Well, one of the main characters, I mean.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else to say?
No, that's about it.
All right. We got Spy Family episode 16. So this one is basically 2 episodes. Like, legitimately, there's 2 different names in this episode. It's like what they kind of did with Kaguya-sama, where you have, like, 3 different episode titles in each episode. So the first one is about Yor trying to learn to cook better because she thinks that her cooking caused Lloyd to be, have to spend like all that time in the bathroom when he actually, was just on the mission. But her cooking still isn't very good. But she does manage to get better at it, and now she can make one meal that's really good, and everything else she makes is still terrible.
Yeah, it's the old cliche of Japanese women can't cook thing. They use that that trope a little too much, I think. Not just this show. I mean, like in general, you always have the woman who can't cook. So.
Yeah, when they had that on that time, I got reincarnated as a slime. Rimuru was literally thinking, "Oh no, it's this isn't that trope where the hot woman is terrible at cooking, is it?" And then it's like, "No," and then you realize it is.
Yeah.
So we get that, and then the second one is basically about Frankie trying to get Lloyd's help in trying to get a date, which ends up not working. And yeah, there really wasn't much to that. There wasn't much to the first, but there was even less to the second.
Yeah. Yeah, the first part probably was better, but this week's episode wasn't all that great.
I thought some of the stuff in the first one was funny. I did think the bits where Yuri is super into Yor's cooking, even though it keeps making him feel sick. That bit was kind of funny, definitely. But yeah, I didn't really have too much else to really say about it. Yeah, I mean, it was, the first one was at least reasonably funny, even if it is kind of cliche, and the second one was okay, I guess.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I guess I don't have much else to say about them. Alright, so there we have all that stuff. Now do you want to be talking about some of the stuff that we sampled to try to decide what to watch next?
Yeah, so basically what we did was you told me to watch 2 episodes of the shows.
Well, actually, I thought I told you to watch 1.
Oh, 1?
Yeah.
Or was it 2? Okay,
I think I told you, I mentioned something about how the second episode of Chainsaw Man felt a bit different than the first. You might have seen that and thought that I was suggesting watching 2.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I did watch 2 episodes of Chainsaw Man and of Blue Lock, and then because I happened to see that it was up on, the dub was up, I decided to watch RWBY Ice Queendom as well. So my thoughts on the first 2 episodes of each of these. Chainsaw Man we'll start with first. I couldn't get into this thing. It reminded me a lot of Tokyo Ghoul, just with like the gross out violence and blood everywhere, and the incredibly pessimistic plot, and then you got the main character who pretty much is Kazuya from Rent-A-Girlfriend, and that doesn't help matters much. So, and the characters we were introduced to in the second episode, not all that interesting. So this show's just not for me. I don't think so. I mean, I could give it a 3rd episode to get the 3 episode rule.
I'm surprised. I thought you would like Power, although she didn't really do that much in the episode, I'll admit.
Yeah, she hardly had any time in the episode. It was more that other guy. Yeah, so in my opinion, Chainsaw Man just isn't for me, but I am going to watch episode 3 so I could give it the obligatory 3 episode rule that I follow so strictly.
So if I can talk a little about that, because I've actually read the whole manga and I know where it goes and stuff. So I after you did mention you watched 2, I was like, well, I guess I might as well do it anyway. I watched them subbed, but I can watch them dubbed now, and It's interesting. So when I was watching the first episode dubbed, and I kind of feel that now when I say subbed, I was watching them subbed in Spanish, still trying to improve my Spanish skills, and I feel like watching something subbed in Spanish like that kind of has an effect in that it makes good shows worse and makes bad shows better. And I went watching it again. I was like, the first episode, like, oh man, yeah, I didn't really think this was that great. I was thinking, yeah, you're probably not going to like this much. The second one I liked a lot more, but I'm also kind of thinking. So I need to say something, and this is important. When I read Chainsaw Man the manga originally, I read it like right from when it came out because I read a lot of basically all the stuff in Weekly Shonen Jump, the magazine, as it comes out, because everything in that magazine now is simul-published officially. So I checked it out and I followed it for a while, and then but I wasn't big on it, and then I lost interest. And later on, I kind of came back and started reading it again. I was like, and then I got more into it, and then like went back and reread the earlier stuff, and I was like, oh, this stuff, especially with the benefit of hindsight, I like more. Like when I was thinking about when I was watching the second episode, because I know these characters a lot better, and I'm viewing them with that knowledge, and it makes me. And I think it made me like the episode a lot more than I would have if it had been my first time through. Like, there's a lot of stuff in here. For example, you mentioned how Denji is like the main character of Rent-a-Girlfriend, in that he's like very, like, in that he's very, what's even the right word to say? Well,
perverted.
Not exact. Yeah, kind of like that. Well, I guess I'll just say he's very horny, a word I was trying to avoid using for something else, but screw it. That describes it. He does, and that was something I didn't like, but again, looking back, I see, oh wait, there actually was kind of a reason for this. He actually does get over it, like, in a few episodes. It's, there's like literally so he does improve in that area, but in the first few episodes, he is very much like that. So some of the other characters I like more, especially knowing some of the later stuff. I really liked Power. She was fun, but we didn't get to see too much of her this episode. So in all my babbling there, I'm not sure it's. I mean, there were still some parts that were kind of funny, like when Denji kills the fiend, with an axe instead of going all like Chainsaw Man on them, and then he's saying, I should realize I'm saying all this stuff and I haven't said anything at all about what this series is about.
Yeah, go ahead.
For anyone who doesn't know, okay, Denji, he's a guy who gets in this world where there's a bunch of different, like, sort of devils, like, of very things. Like, there's a tomato devil, a sea anemone devil, a chainsaw devil, gun devil, all kinds of stuff themed by that. He ends up fusing with the one he had, the chainsaw devil, which was actually this kind of adorable little dog that had a chainsaw coming out of it, which allows him to turn into Chainsaw Man to fight things, and he ends up kind of getting forced into being one of the devil hunters. So there's your plot so far. So in regards to this, I was thinking about what I should recommend for you, because I do think that you would like a bunch of the characters once we see more of them and stuff in the plot. And you not liking it, I mean, I can say that because when I read this in the manga, I didn't like it at first. And now, honestly, it's probably one of my favorite weekly series that's running. But I'm not sure, but I can't guarantee you would have the same turnaround that I did on it. So, I mean, I do think if you give it several more episodes, you might turn around on it, but you might not. So we talked a lot about that. What about the other series?
Okay, so we have Blue Lock, and this series surprised me because I I was expecting it to be just another sports anime, and instead you got this crazy guy who's got 300 soccer players. I apologize. I just had a notification there. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just turning off the sound.
I didn't even hear anything.
Yeah, he has all these 300 players, and he puts them into these rooms, and basically says that, you know, you need to become the striker for the Japan World Cup team so you can be the greatest in the world. And this guy, he reminds me of Haruma from iShield 21. He's that crazy. And so I kept thinking of Haruma every time he would talk. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly who he seems like. And then they have to play this game of tag, and it turns out that the one who loses is like the friend of the main character. And then you've got a little more of his crazy ideas, and I forget what they were going to do next. It was pretty interesting what they were about to do, but I was surprised by this anime because, you know, I expected the old cliche sports thing, and instead we got what's kind of like this psychological game, which makes things more interesting than I thought they were going to be. So, yeah, I actually like this, surprisingly. I didn't know if I would, but at least the first 2 episodes were pretty good.
Yeah, they were enjoyable in watching it, and I think I liked them more when I watched them in English. It's when I said, you know, it makes the good stuff worse and the bad stuff better when you watch them, well, in another language subtitled. I was watching, I was remembering that I liked the first episode of Chainsaw Man more when I watched it, you know, subtitled that way, and I liked the Blue Lock stuff more when I watched it dubbed. And I don't think it's a matter of, you know, voice quality stuff, because I thought the dubs for both series were fine. It's more the matter of looking at it and saying, okay, I have no idea what this word is, let me look it up thing. But yeah, I never thought of Hiruma actually, but he was, yeah, I can kind of see that. I really did like his voice, by the way, his English voice.
Yeah.
That was very good casting. So yeah, what they were planning to do next, they were taking the people, because there were all the different groups had 11 people, and they're saying, okay, you're going to play soccer, except you're all going to be what was the position name? Forward? Was that it? Striker. Okay. I thought they said forward. Maybe they did say striker. Actually, I think, are those the same thing?
They're similar, but like, I think his position was forward, but this guy is looking to turn them into the best striker. Okay. So that's what I think it is.
Yeah, so he was like saying, you know, and then he talks about how, and I have no idea if this history thing he's talking about is true, where he says, oh, originally everyone was basically forwards, and then they changed stuff, so now you need to reinvent soccer from zero. Hopefully that starting from zero, in this case, will not involve deaths and time loops. But yeah, when I look at this, so it is kind of funny that they keep talking about, oh, Japan never does well at the World Cup, so we need to do all this crazy stuff to improve. And I saw someone mention, the Japanese women's team has won the World Cup.
Yeah.
Now, I know that gets way less attention than the men's World Cup, but still, it's a little surprising no one thought to mention that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, actually, they aren't too bad at the men's World Cup either. I mean, they've had some good teams over the years. Now, they've never won. They've never come really close to winning, but they've had some good teams, and they're back in the World Cup again this year. Something you may not realize, but it's very hard to get into the World Cup. You could have a really good team like this year's World Cup. Italy, who's one of the best teams in the world, didn't make it into the tournament. So it is very competitive to get in. So if you're getting there year after year, or not year after year, cycle after cycle, like Japan has, I mean, that's pretty impressive, I think.
Yeah, and and I suppose I should also get into the obvious thing. This entire setup is completely and utterly ridiculous. This is like, this is like, I have been thinking, so is this whole setup, does it make more sense or less sense than the Mafia deciding disputes via a transforming golf course?
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea, but it's definitely up there.
Mm.
So yes, it was enjoyable. It ultimately, from what I've heard, is a series. I did see someone make the comment of, the series feels like the author wanted to make some sort of dystopian Hunger Games like elimination thing, but got told that he had to make a sports series instead. I looked it up. Apparently his previous manga was one where I don't know all the details, but apparently it involved like people playing like what were kind of like kids games, things like red light, green light, except the losers would actually die. They were kind of forced into that. So I guess Squid Game before Squid Game.
Mm-hmm.
Did it predate Squid Game? I think it predated Squid Game. So yeah, it's a pretty crazy setup, but if I can deal with mafias deciding things with a transforming golf course, I can accept this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of which, Birdie Wing is coming back, I think, in spring next year.
Mm.
Okay.
We'll have to watch that. And unfortunately, it didn't ever get an English dub, did it?
I don't think it did. It's possible. Maybe they'll go back and redub it. I know there was at least one series that did not initially get one, but then they like half a year later, it was a while, a bit later, they went back and kind of Crunchyroll actually did start releasing a dub for it. I don't know if anything like that has been announced for Birdie Wing or not. I don't know how popular it was in English.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, you were saying something, but then I cut you off.
Oh, I was just saying that I surprisingly really like these first two episodes of this show.
Okay, and so what about the last one, RWBY Ice Queendom? Now, this was one that I didn't know you were watching it, so I didn't check out this one. Although I did watch it like when it premiered, along with a bunch of other series that were in that season. So I didn't watch the dub, just the subbed, and it was earlier. So how did you think of it?
My opinion of it was that it had some really strong lead characters who got me invested early on. Now, 3 out of the 4 of them I thought had pretty interesting situations. RWBY and Weiss, who was the one I liked the best, was Weiss, and I can't remember her name, the black one.
there's Ruby, Weiss, Blake, and Yang.
Yeah, Blake, that's the one. Yeah, I liked her backstory too. The other yellow one, I was like, she didn't really win me over yet, but I found all their stories to be interesting, and then them all coming together and working together to fight these enemies. It really seemed like a good fantasy series, and I felt like it did a good job of first introducing the characters and then having them work together in the second episode, and now they're a team, and now we get the official name RWBY, and now we know why it's named RWBY. And oh yeah, and there's a guy who is going to be the love interest of one of the girls for certain, but we just don't know which one yet. So we know he's going to be a love interest. We don't know which one it's going to be. So yeah. So, but overall, I loved it. I thought it was really good. I don't know what your thoughts were of it.
Well, it's harder for me to remember exactly what I thought of it. I do remember way back then, I kind of narrowed the series. Because I was thinking, let's watch one of these new series. So I kind of watched like 1 or 2 episodes of all the new series and put it all in a little sort of bracket thing to decide, and that was one of the 4 that ended up making it. One of the others was Lycoris Recoil. Black Summoner somehow made it in only because it was up against really weak stuff. And the other one was Parallel World Pharmacy. Of them, I did think RWBY and Lycoris Recoil seemed the most promising. The difficulty I have in I knew this is that the first 3 episodes of this are a sort of abbreviated adaptation of the beginning of the original series, because originally RWBY was like an anime influenced English web series, and right. This apparently I think was the first 3 episodes were kind of adapting the early stuff there, and then this series will kind of go into an anime original sort of side story that I think is supposed to take place between, I don't know, like, was it between volumes 2 and 3 of the original series? I don't know exactly. So when I'm looking at this, it's enjoyable, but I do not know exactly how the original stuff went. I mean, I try to look and see what other people said, and some people liked it, and some people didn't like it. And from my understanding, one of the and stuff. So I don't know exactly. I do know apparently the RWBY fandom is often critical of the series. It's one of those ones where it seems a lot of the fandom does not like the show they're fans of. But I don't know. Maybe the series did get weaker as it went on, as I've heard. Like, look, I've never seen it. My experience to this is mostly listening to a review some people did where they watched the first season of the original, watching a short goofy video that was kind of making fun of the series, and watching the first 2 episodes of this anime. That is my knowledge of RWBY.
Mm-hmm. Mine's even less. Mine is just these 2 episodes.
Yeah, so, I can't comment as much because I watched it a while ago and can't remember. But I do remember it being one of the better ones in its season, at least of the new series. I want to stress, when I watched all this stuff, I was limiting it mostly to stuff on Crunchyroll and new series, not Return. So when I say that, that's where it's from. So that's our discussions on the 3 series. So which one would you be most interested in continuing with?
RWBY is the one that kind of won out slightly over Blue Lock, although I might end up watching Blue Lock anyway because it's intrigued me quite a bit. So, yeah, both of those shows seem pretty good. Chainsaw Man I'm going to watch the third episode because I believe in the 3-episode rule, but I don't know if I'm going to continue it beyond there.
I guess if you feel like it, we could just watch one. If you're up for it, we could watch one more episode of each of them and then decide.
Yeah, we could try that.
All right, sure. That's it. It's going to be dramatically increasing the stuff we'll be watching. But honestly, I don't have that. I can probably do it. Yeah. Yeah, we can give that. We can give that a try.
I want to ask you a question. Do you know what? Maybe you said this before. I think you did, and I stupidly forgot. What Toonami's gonna do for Thanksgiving weekend?
We don't know.
Okay.
They haven't announced it yet. That would be, I believe, the episode. Because, yeah, My Hero Academia this weekend will be airing the last episode of the season it had, because they only started like 3 episodes to the end. And we don't know about whether we'll have a marathon next, so maybe we'll have a marathon of some kind, and then that will just I hate it when I was saying something and then forget midway through.
Uh-huh.
And maybe that will let them put it off for another week, whatever they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So no, we don't know, unfortunately, right now.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No, that's fine. You weren't. That was fine. So, yeah, I'm not sure what else there would necessarily be for. Okay, so I guess, I mean, if you're planning to watch another episode of all of them anyway, I can just go in and try it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'll jump to the 3rd episode of RWBY. I probably won't rewatch the first 2 because of all the other stuff. But yeah, I could do that. It would let me hear it dubbed with the original English voice actors.
Mm-hmm.
Because they got back, I think, almost everyone who was the voice actor in the original RWBY for the dub of it, which makes sense and does make you wonder why it took so long for them to get it available, because like the group that this would seem would be the easiest thing in the world to get the dub stuff out, because they're consulting with a Japanese studio. I assume they would have all the stuff ahead of time, you'd think, but I maybe they're just not used to doing it like this. So okay, so yeah, we can do that. Maybe Toonami will announce that they're going to show RWBY Ice Queendom. I mean, they showed Genlock, and that was also by Rooster Teeth.
When was that?
That was that was quite a while ago. They showed it. That was another like RWBY, Rooster Teeth web series. So if they did that, maybe they would do this also. Who knows? But yeah, so I guess we'll just put it off and try to figure something out for next week.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so we and I kind of a little, yeah, sorry for everyone who might not have been expecting us to suddenly go through this. It was a little unexpected, and I just realized we talked all this stuff and we never actually said what RWBY was about either. So it's a little late to say it, but if you don't know, it's basically the story of how there's this Eden's Academy where you learn to fight these monsters called Grims, I think, and it's about people who are going there. Yeah, and then they all get put into the 4-person squads, and you gotta wonder, what were they going to do? Because they have RWBY, because their names spell it out, and the other main team is JNPR for Juniper. I can't remember what all their names were, but I remember that acronym. What were they planning to do if the people's in the squad's first initials didn't conveniently spell out actual words or sounds? Like what if it had just been slightly different? How are you gonna like do it if in that case? What if whoever was the J in that other one ended up in their team instead of Yang? Would that be like RWBY? Like how would you do that? I guess you could so yeah. All right, so that's all that stuff. I guess we can try to rank stuff for top 3 then. Are we counting the kind of surprise series that we checked out with the Chainsaw and Blue Lock and RWBY?
Yeah, I'm going to include them in here. I have to bring up my spreadsheet here. See, stupid thing is in the way. Okay. Top 3. Yeah, top 3. Okay, bring this over here. Okay, it's the 18th of November. And third place this week is going to be Yashahime. Second place will be Blue Lock. And first place will be RWBY.
Okay. So for me, it would be, let me just review that briefly again. Yeah, there were a bunch because we watched so many things. We suddenly have all these other series that makes it harder. Okay, so for me, I would say that in terms of how much I did, well, I didn't watch the RWBY this one, so I can't comment on that. It was so long ago I saw it. But I would say, I guess, based on the things I watched, I would put, let's put Yashahime in third, Blue Lock in second. Blue Lock was kind of weird because I was looking at it and I'm like thinking, okay, the first half of the first episode and the second half of the second episode, I wasn't super into. But I did really like the second half of the first episode and the first half of the second episode. So if you just combine those into one episode, it would be really great. And then in first place would be JoJo.
Okay.
All right, so that's been our... Oh, wow, we talked a long time.
Yeah.
And we have about the anime. So that's all of our anime discussion. All right, I guess we can maybe talk the amazing race then?
Yeah. I guess we can. I have to take a shower soon, but the Amazing Race, it's the mega leg, so there's 2 parts, and obviously we know who the final 3 are going to be because they're working together, just like 2 seasons ago where we figured out who the final 3 was, or the final 5, and then the final 3. It was so obvious because they just worked together and helped each other out. And I hate that. And I mean, I know it's a game and you should do whatever you can to help yourself win, but it's not very good for the viewers because I've kind of lost interest because I'm like, well, I know who the final 3 are going to be, and because there's no way the other teams are going to be able to do as well on their own as those 3 are working together. So yeah, I'm disappointed about that. We'll see what happens though. And this episode wasn't too interesting, aside from maybe the fish fry. The fish fry I thought was, one where they had to go in the water to retrieve ice or something. That was pretty good. But that painting thing, that was kind of boring.
Yeah, a lot of times an issue with ones that where it's just kind of that sort of thing where they just kind of get it or they don't. It's it's not as good for the viewer when like those sort of puzzles. Not like you can't have puzzles, but it's better if it's one that the viewer can at least to some extent play along with.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was that yeah, I don't really have too much to comment on this episode other than, well, because it's a mega leg, it there's actually some suspense as to whether people might be able to catch up or not.
Right.
And I don't have too much else to really say about this one, unfortunately, especially after we spent all that time talking about the anime. But I'm going to guess the listeners are probably here more for the anime than Amazing Race anyway.
Yeah, given that it's called Toonami Therapy.
Yeah, there's probably, actually, I'm suddenly curious, is there any kind of Amazing Race podcast?
I'm sure there is.
Let's take a look. There's something called Amazing Race Recaps on Reality TV RHAP Ups. I don't know what the R... Oh, it's RHAP. It's a part of some larger thing called Rob Has a Podcast. So
yeah, that's Survivor.
Okay. So, well, there is a one for the Amazing Race there. Yeah, so not too much else to really say about that. Maybe I'll check it out sometime, although there's all these other podcast stuff I listen to. But I guess because we've been going so long, we probably should just cut it off here. We'll see you next week, and I apologize for anyone who's actually trying to watch along with us for dumping all this stuff on you at once and saying, oh, and we'll be watching 3 more shows next week. Well, technically 2 more, because we're no longer have Lycoris Recoil, and then there's 3 things, so technically 2 more. But yeah, we'll watch that, and then we'll figure things out as to what series we might be jumping on to for this. Okay. And without further ado, we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Toonami Therapy. Today on November 25th of 2022. I'm Michael.
I'm Tommy.
So, we do know, in fact, what is going to be coming in Toonami this week. It's going to be reruns.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be rerunning the My Hero Academia stuff we just saw. So, I'm left wondering, like, is this in preparation for showing us season 6? Is that what they're going to be trying to do? Because if that is it, then I'm surprised they haven't announced it yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes sense, but I don't know.
So yeah, I'm just wondering what is going on with that. So we still don't know what the new series will be, if there will be one. I mean, I guess they could just move stuff forward half an hour and do 2 One Piece episodes again.
Yeah, they could.
Yeah, so, well, I guess we'll just get into it. So we got Made in Abyss episode 16. So they end up going into so they end up kind of going around the village and stuff. There's all the other, like, people who were turned into the weird things. we find out that it's all about, giving value to things or whatever. Someone like, we get some more weird, like, sort of stuff, that I guess, like, when, what's the name of their, so first we have the stuff where they eat the food and then Riku gets sick and has to, go to the bathroom really badly. So we get that sort of thing. And yeah, then there's some other stuff. It's just like, okay, I guess you just have to put it in there. Anyway, they end after someone, grabs, like, ends up injuring their pet. Because of that, it then has to pay for the value. With Rico not really knowing anything about what was going on, it's just like, well, I know I don't want to, like, put a value on it, which means that it's considered super valuable. So they end up not only getting, not only does the person who did that get basically shaken down for all their money and possessions, they also rip off some of their organs. So that was kind of brutal. And weirdly, like, the characters just seem like, man, whatever about it.
Yeah.
It's like, they're just like, well, we got money, I guess, out of it. Anyway, so they have all that stuff. Then there turns out there's going to be, someone showing up at the village named, I can't remember what they called them, but so Reg ends up going out to look for that, and then he, so then he goes to see and sees the people that showed up, and then we go back to the flashback characters that we saw in the first episode for a little bit.
Yeah, they show up for like a couple minutes. I was a little confused what the point of that was.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what it was. I mean, I assume we're going to get that stuff, like, we're going to get more into the backstory of that, but it is a little weird the way it's being told, I guess. I wonder if it was like this in the manga, or if maybe they like, did more of a full flashback and like then the anime is like interspersing it. I have no idea. I haven't read it, but it just did make me wonder a little. Yeah. So anything to say about it?
It was a pretty good episode. Not great, but I thought it was good.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if this is just a series, because the movie I thought was so much more interesting than the first season, and I'm wondering, okay, is it because the movie was better, or is it because they just put it all into one go instead of splitting it up among 13 different episodes?
Yeah, good point you have there.
Because I'm thinking, would I have liked the movie as much if it was split up? But yeah, I guess we're moving along with the plot at least, which is which was a lot more than we were doing at this point in season 1.
Right. Yeah, we were beginning to get to the beginning, and it took about 10 episodes to finally begin.
Yeah, let's see. We've So yeah, I guess that's it for that. All right, then we get Yashahime episode 39. So yeah, so our main characters meet Inuyasha and Kagome. Finally, well, we met Kagome last episode, but here's Inuyasha. Anyway, we find out some stuff. Let's see. They have been watching Moroha grow up because they can do that, apparently, where the place they're from, which I guess is a convenient way to explain how they know what she looks like. So Shomaru seems all defeated and stuff, and then Kirin Maru's like, I'm gonna beat you, now. But, and then he explains how he detaches his arm and sends it to the future as a person, and then that person is telling him what's happening in the future. And okay. But apparently their comet is going to show up again on Earth, and he's going to be like, I'm going to destroy it because I want to fight it, and or something like that, which I guess would save people, but maybe it wouldn't, because he was going to, I don't know, he was going to do something bad. I can't remember exactly what. And then, meanwhile, the other characters are like, okay, so how are you going to get out? Well, we've got the Tenseiga, and that will somehow do it. They didn't, I don't think we actually saw them do anything with it. They just said, man, if only we had the Tenseiga. Well, what do you know? We have the Tenseiga. And then it just showed like some stuff with Sesshomaru and Kirimaru for the rest.
And then Shippo showed up.
Oh yeah, Shippo. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention Shippo. He did show up. It's like 40 episodes into the series.
Pretending to be an old fox whenever he still looks like he actually looks, normal.
Well, first
But
we see him as an old guy, then he turns into like this older, not old guy, but older person than we remembered from the original series. I'm like, oh, that's it. Except that was a disguise too, and he really just looks about the same as he did before.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a fun moment whenever Shippo showed up. Unfortunately, it's taken so long for him to finally get to be part of this, but I really enjoyed the episode. The whole Inuyasha and Moroha reunion, that was a touching moment. I thought it was a little convenient for them to suddenly have a way out just like that. But like what you said, is like, oh, they have the Tenseiga, what do you know? And now they can get out. But, I thought it was still a pretty good episode.
Yep. Not much else to say there. So then we've got One Piece episode, let's see, 596. Now just, hang on, my, internet's acting all wonky all of a sudden. Although, it seems to be fine here. It's just, is it just the browser that's, doing it? One sec, let me just check to see if I can get this to... I guess it's just a browser. I opened another one and now it's fine. Okay, so that brief bit of digression aside, One Piece. So we've got the big, like, the blob monster thing called Smiley. Or the Smooze, as you might call it. Then we OG Smooze, the one from the original My Little Pony series, not the later Friendship is Magic version. But so they're fighting that and stuff. They end up but the Marine guys end up finding Luffy and stuff, and except because conveniently Smoker and Tashigi's bodies got switched, they're much weaker against Luffy. Then they so they've got this stuff there, and then like Caesar Clown does pop up, and then Luffy just randomly kind of grabs him. It's just like, well, that was sudden. That's the big stuff I remember.
Yeah, it didn't feel like all that much happened here.
Yeah, that's why I was trying to make sure I could get to the thing to look at the episode synopsis so I could remember. And I was like, okay, what did happen? Okay, now I'm remembering what happened. But yeah, I mostly remember, them trying to kill the thing, defeat the thing with fire, even though it's on a ship, and they're on a wooden ship. Why would you try to use fire to defeat something while you're on a wooden ship?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's One Piece. Yeah, don't really have that much else to say.
Yeah, just a very nondescript episode. Not really having all that many big moments to it.
Yeah, we've then got the other thing to what was I gonna say? Yeah, so that's our Toonami stuff. I guess we can talk about the other things, including hopefully us figuring out what we want to add to our thing when we get to those, because we watched one more episode of each of those series. So do you want to talk about those ones, or do you want us to be talking about the stuff that's already on the regular schedule first?
Let's go with JoJo first.
Alright, so we got JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stone Ocean episodes 11 and 12. So episode 11, we have them still fighting the guy with the zero gravity stand. They managed to beat him. In a bit that makes it feel like the author of Made in Abyss suddenly took over. There's a part where Jolene has to really go to the bathroom.
I was going to mention something about that. I was like, yeah, this yeah, you're right about that.
It's such a weird thing because it has nothing to do with the plot.
I know. The fact that we're laughing about it just oh well.
Anyway, so basically they managed to beat the guy, and Jolene's like, okay, now I gotta get this disc over to the courtyard. She manages to, well, first she encounters another guy who's being controlled. Well, first she encounters the guy who is Pale Snake, but she doesn't know it's him. And he lets her through because he doesn't want to give away his identity or anything. Also because he got someone to try to kill her, but she manages to survive it. Weather forecast or weather report. I don't know. I'm probably going to be I'm probably going to be, for some characters, using the original names, and in some characters use the trademark friendly ones. Mm-hmm. So friendly. Why was I even saying friendly? Sorry. Weather forecast was manages to make it, because he can manipulate the weather. I thought it was just more regular, like smaller scale stuff, but no, he can literally make it rain toads, and can make it rain poisonous toads also. Mm-hmm. So that's a very specific thing. How do you get the toads there? You can control the weather, sure, but how do you get them all there? Aren't those from South America? In any event, that manages to defeat guys, and Jolene manages to survive it, and she gets the thing to the messenger, which it turns out is just a carrier pigeon, the disc. So they got the disc that has Star Platinum to Jotaro, although it still doesn't have his memory or anything, so, I don't know what much that actually did. And then, so ultimately we managed to have Jolene, she survives, although she's injured, and she might end up getting more punishment for an escape. It was not entirely clear if that was what their conclusion was, but and yes, that was our episodes. Mm-hmm. Also, there is a post-credit sequence on episode 12, and I don't know if there have been those in any previous episodes. I only noticed it because I happened to see that in an episode synopsis I was reviewing, and I was thinking, why are you doing that on Netflix? Netflix literally tries to get you to skip the credits.
Yeah.
It's the worst platform to have a post-credit sequence on. So, these were decent episodes. I think the first was, I don't know, I wasn't really liking the zero gravity stand battle thing as much as a lot of the other stand battles. in this series so far. But I don't know. I guess the later stuff in the second episode was a little more interesting. Also, I remember how the guy was, to keep himself calm, was counting prime numbers, and I can actually I can do that because I can actually rattle off the early prime numbers. Because when I was a kid, did you ever play Number Munchers?
Nuh-uh.
Okay, so it was this game, and the thing was that you were this little. There were all these squares, kind of like a chessboard almost, and you could move.
I played Word Munchers.
Okay, so you know how it works. It's like that,
Yeah.
except numbers. And the one that me and my siblings would always play the most was where you could only eat the prime numbers. So, it starts in the early levels. It just gives the low ones, and then it starts getting higher, and the bigger prime numbers. So we ended up memorizing what were the prime numbers pretty quickly. So, I can go 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19, 20, 3, 20, and so on. I think I kind of get a little stuck after the 40s, because that was usually when we ended up losing our lives or losing interest in the game.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So that's a little random. That gave me a little nostalgia when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
So
why was he rattling off?
it was just his way of keeping himself calm.
It feels like an excuse for something else,
Yeah. But that was it did seem like that was the explanation we gave. He wanted to keep himself calm, so he decided to try to count via prime numbers to keep his mind occupied, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. These episodes, I came to a realization that these episodes could be described with one word: bizarre. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, yes, it's very bizarre, and that's the best I can describe it.
Well, I guess we'll find out next time what the follow-up and, what's the right word? Repercussions of this, I guess, end up being, if anything.
Mm-hmm.
JoJo is between stand battles is usually will frequently just reset everything. Then again, I guess this season they don't have someone who can just cure everything for you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you got your tongue sliced off? It's okay. We can give you a replacement. Okay. So, yeah, that was so those were the episodes. It was so weird because I want to return to that part. Oh, I got to go to the bathroom, and they spent so much time on it explaining the situation. Saying, oh, zero gravity makes you have to urinate. And I'm not sure that's true. But that was just kind of, yeah. Alright, then we got Spy Family, episode 17. So most of this is just, at the school where Anya and Damien end up being paired together in some project to make a sort of arts and craft thing based on animals. Anya kind of screws stuff up, but it's fine because the judges misinterpret what was actually going on with what they did and thinks it's amazing. Then we just have a brief little thing about Lloyd's boss called the Full Metal Lady. I'm going to assume that was supposed to be a reference to Full Metal Alchemist. Or maybe not, I don't know. That was basically it, aside from a brief post-credits joke thing about Yuri being really resilient because he had to eat Yor's cooking and got kind of accidentally beaten up by her as a kid.
Yeah, this episode I found to be pretty boring. Um, I I'm a little annoyed with Anya's voice because it's becoming harder and harder to understand what she's saying, and I just what I should do is put on the subtitles, but
Crunchyroll doesn't have subtitles for the dubs.
oh yeah, no wonder. Yeah, it. I mean, aside from maybe that last thing about the guy eating the food, that was kind of funny, but it was also kind of the stereotypical, Japanese women can't cook thing, and that's kind of like a stereotypical thing. Yeah, just not really into this episode.
Well, I thought there were some funny bits there. I always find Anya's random fantasies to be funny. That was good. We got a little more development on Damien. It was kind of funny when you see his sort of fantasy thing, and it's like much less goofy than Anya's. And yes, her voice, I was going to bring that up. In this season, she is much harder to understand.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't it's not like it's a bad performance. It's actually like pretty good that she's able to impressive. She's able to do Anya's voice like that. The problem is, this is stuff I'm supposed to be understanding is the issue. Mm-hmm. Like if this was like a brief thing a character might do at occasionally where you don't really need to understand it, but it's so constant. Mm-hmm. I was watching part of the episode, and one of my relatives, they heard it and said whatever you're watching sounds like Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I kind of hope that they do go back more to season 1 Anya, because that was perfectly fine. I in fact I kind of like the way she sounded in season 2. The way it's a little more, I guess, like childlike. I kind of like that. I just think they went too far with it. If we had like a little midpoint, that would be the best for me, I think.
Yeah, I agree. It's so hard to understand what she's saying, and you're right. I tried to put on subtitles and couldn't because Crunchyroll doesn't allow them for whatever reason.
I guess it just might be. I mean, I think it might just be the extra work required for that. They just don't want to pay that. Although I can't imagine it would be that expensive.
Well, but don't they have subtitles for, the Japanese version?
True, but I think, but you do, when you're doing it like the captions for, it would still be extra stuff for the English, and they might just be thinking, well, people can understand it normally. I'm honestly more annoyed when the times where they have Japanese text on screen and they sometimes don't bother to put up any translation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I realize that the dub is totally different from what subtitles are, but at least if we had that, at least we'd have an idea of what's being said,
Yeah, that's actually an issue I've noticed sometimes. It's usually not the case with. So when you're watching on Netflix for JoJo, the subtitles in English, they match up with the English dub. That's fine. But I've noticed that for other languages, if you like turn on the Spanish like dialogue and then you put on the Spanish subtitles, the subtitles will not match the dialogue they're saying. It will be it's a case where they put they have the Spanish subtitles, and those are for the Japanese thing. That's like the translation they have for that. It's like the regular subtitles on like something that's not dubbed on Crunchyroll. And but then the dub itself in like Spanish, and I assume this is the case for the other languages, but I don't know them well enough to be able to figure out how well the dialogue is matching those. The other but then so you're trying to watch it, and the dialogue is the dub, but the subtitles is for the Japanese one. So obviously the basic meanings are going to be the same, but you're still going to have different stuff being shown there, which is a little annoying. It would be like, whoa, what was that?
Text message.
Oh, okay. The English, it would be like if you were watching the English dub and then the subtitles were, what you would see if you were watching the sub of the Japanese, is what I'm saying. And yeah. All right. So we've got, last time we had several series we were thinking of starting to watch here. And then when it came time to decide, we were like, I don't know, we'll put it off until next week.
Mm-hmm.
And then watch another episode of each of those. So I guess we can discuss those.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll start out. We've got, let's see. Right. So here we have, let me just pull this up, right. Chainsaw Man episode 3. Before anything else, I want to fix something. Last episode, I started saying something and then said, oh, wait, I need to say this thing, and never returned to what I was saying before. And just in case, for anyone who was curious, when I was talking about jokes, I was trying to refer to the part where he uses the axe to kill the monster, and he claims it was because he wanted it to be like more less painful. But then you find out he just did it because he didn't want to splatter blood on the guy's dirty magazines so he could steal them. All right, so there you go with that. That's what I was talking about, in case anyone was wondering. Anyway, back to it here. So, basically, Power says that her pet got kidnapped by this other demon, this bat devil, and wants Denji to try to save it, and he's not interested until she says, well, you can grope me, and he's like, I'll do it! And then he goes, and then he ends up going there. It turns out she actually was luring him there to do so that in return for getting the cat back. So then the big battle between him and the monster and the devil thing starts up, and the bad guy decides to betray them, so he eats Power and the cat, but Denji, gets them rescued out of there, and then they're still fighting at the end of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
So, when I was looking at this, I was again kind of... I know this is going to be repeating everything I said last time, but I'm watching this and I'm thinking, okay, I'm kind of enjoying this because I know where a lot of this stuff goes, but if I hadn't read the rest of the manga, I probably wouldn't be liking this that much. Because a bunch of, there's a few kind of funny jokes. There is a funny thing where Denji's going through this fighting and is just complaining about how he's doing all this just because he wants to be able to touch Powers' chest and stuff, which was kind of funny, although that's also really the main joke of the episode. So the fact they just use it there. And, but yeah, it's, I don't know. I mean, I still enjoyed it, but again, I keep looking at it and I'm thinking, yeah, I probably would be, if not for that. And again, I want to mention, I wasn't that big on the manga either at first. I'd be thinking, oh man, why did everyone hype this series up?
Yeah, I really didn't like it at all. And I can't figure out why this show is so popular. I mean, is it just because it's a chainsaw and that's, I guess, cool? Is it because it's got a lot of gross out violence? Is that why people like it? Is it because the main character is perverted and people like that? I don't know. I don't know why people like this show, because I have found it to be terrible in the first 3 episodes. And there's no redeeming qualities of the show, really. I'm completely stunned that this is the most popular show of the season.
Well, Well, I thought some of the jokes were funny, and it's annoying because like I really like Power's character. She's a lot of fun, but we don't get to, except for maybe a bit in the previous episode, we don't get to see the stuff that makes her fun yet. We don't get like, we're not at the part where she like where she says, like says, oh, what exactly did she say? She says something where her plan is, she says, I'm going to win the Nobel Peace Prize. Then I'll use that to as a springboard to be elected prime minister, and then to make humans suffer, I'll implement a 100% sales tax. Just crazy stuff like that. And I don't know if that actually worked the way I said it, but in context, it was really funny, I thought. And, I mean, as someone who really does like the manga series, I can say what works for me is the fact that there actually is, like, some of the characters I got really into. There's actually some pretty good comedy and stuff, and those are like the big reasons it's also often really unpredictable, and those are like some of the big reasons I like it. There's just like a lot of good stuff. I really do like a lot of the comedy, and I'm like, again, thinking, man, these are not showing any of the reasons I like the series.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, I'm talking about why I like the series, having seen later stuff. Again, I didn't like this series that much at first and quit reading it. Then I came back and was like, oh, this is more interesting. Like to explain some things with Denji's pervertedness, that actually does get resolved in a few episodes, because a bit that's actually pretty funny. So remember, he's doing all this stuff because like Power said, oh, you can like grab my chest or something if you do. So we actually end up resolving this, and she's like, in gratitude, okay, you can do that. You can grab me like 3 times. And then he does, except he's completely underwhelmed by the experience and actually gets depressed over it. And it's actually really funny. And after that, that part of his character is mostly gone. But again, yeah, when I think about all the stuff I like in the series, it is later on. So, like, I really like Power, and I'm just thinking, man, none of the stuff that we've maybe liked these characters is here yet. In terms of why it's super popular among other people, I mean, I know a lot of people read the manga. The manga is in English kind of crazy popular, because even before the anime came out, this was like the second most read thing on Manga Plus, behind like this beat out My Hero Academia and Jujutsu Kaisen.
Why?
Only One Piece beat it, and now that the anime's out, Chainsaw Man is the most read thing on Manga Plus.
Yeah, but why?
I mean, for like, at least for me, I just think kind of like the characters, and a bunch of the comedy to me actually is pretty funny. It's just it's just all the stuff I like about it comes later. Just like stuff like when this bad guy is trying to has the power of mind reading and is fighting Denji, and then it's thinking. The problem is, I know I'm going to say this, and it's not going to sound as funny because it's the execution that makes it work. But I like it where they're thinking, oh, okay, I know, I'll just read his mind and I'll be able to beat him. And then finds out Denji isn't even thinking about the fight at all. He's just trying to think of the most natural way to use the fight to reveal his identity as Chainsaw Man. Just a bunch of stuff. I don't know. I like it, but in terms of the anime, so far, I have kind of liked it, but again, I'm always saying the same thing. I feel it really is because I have better context for a bunch of this stuff, and I know that it does go someplace with a lot of it.
So basically, you got to put a real commitment into the series if you want to enjoy it.
I mean, I would... Possibly. I don't know exactly what I'd be thinking if I were to just be watching the anime. In terms of why people are really liking the anime, when, again, I've been saying, well, I like new people. I'm gonna just guess a lot of people just get into it because like there's like violence and some like kind of I guess because it's more edgy in a way, but at the same time it doesn't take itself that seriously. Weirdly, kind of like a Tokyo Ghoul that I described it once. It's like a Tokyo Ghoul that has a sense of self-awareness. And Tokyo Ghoul was popular, and you have a series that does that, but with self-awareness, and that's something a lot of people like. And even though right now we're only seeing like kind of some of the beginning stuff of it, I think it's kind of a series where that sort of stuff managed to make it, got enough people in to like it, and then, when it kind of deepened a bit, that got more people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just don't see it right now. I mean, I thought 3 episodes in, I'd be able to find something about it that I like, but honestly, there's not anything about it that I like. I'm just kind of puzzled. I'm like, okay, is it because it's so cool that a guy turns into a chainsaw? Is that the reason why people like this show so much? I just don't know.
So that's some of that. I might have a little more. We've been spending a lot of time on this. Let's move on to the next thing, and then at the end, I guess we can talk. I might have a few extra things to say, but
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I guess we can talk Blue Lock next, or.
Yeah, Blue Lock.
Okay, so in this one, we find out the more specific rules for like the team battle thing they're gonna have. So the rules are there's gonna be a round robin between like the 5 like teams, although was it 5? How exactly was it working? Because there's 11 people, or was that the amount they had in each one?
Yeah, there's 11 per team, yeah.
Yeah, but there's 5 teams, but we know there's 275 people, so 11 times 5 is 55. So does that, maybe they're just dividing.
Well, what's 55 times 25?
No, I mean 11 times 5 is 55. I think that when they're saying the 5 teams, if I remember correctly, there were multiple sort of parts in this, and then there's like 5 teams within each of those things. So
right. There's 5 teams of 5. 5 groups of 5.
Yes. Okay. So now I get it.
5 times 5 times 11.
Yeah. So that equals 275. Okay, I got it. I just can't do math. All right. So, because I was suddenly thinking, oh man, if we're only having 2 of these things, it seems like they're really cutting the number down quick. But if it's just like that, okay. So we find out that we're going to have round robin. The 2 teams that do the best will advance, and the top scorer from each of the losing teams will also advance. So this, of course, immediately causes the teamwork to fall apart, as everyone wants to be the one to score, so that if their team loses, they can advance. Our main characters' team is not able to do so well, but the opposing team does pretty well after they get a score, and everyone managed to work out, it's all a psychological thing. If you manage to score first, then you will like be able to get everyone to rally around, but they don't really figure that out in time to win. And then there's so they end up losing that, and then there's some talk about the stuff, and there's a bunch of shirtless scenes, so I guess this must be fan service for the girls. And then they're going to go into their next game and maybe hopefully do better.
Yeah, I really liked it. I thought it was a good way of showing the necessity of the teamwork, even in a situation where you weren't exactly, trying to be a team player. It was like, you're doing this for an individual purpose, but in order to advance, you have to work as a team to get there. So it's kind of like Survivor in a lot of ways. Survivor, you have your alliance, you have your tribe, and you kind of work with other people, but ultimately you're doing it all just for yourself. So I thought this was a great way of showing that and showing how trying to go on your own just doesn't work. And it was pretty funny to see some of these crazy characters who were just like morons. That was kind of funny. And some of them who were really nasty. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I like where it's going, and it clearly worked because Japan beat Germany 2-1 in the first game of the World Cup.
Oh yeah, I think I remember hearing something about that, and people were making jokes about it in regards to Blue Lock.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a fun episode. I actually setting the premise that he had where was interesting in that if your team you want to work with it gives you the incentive wanting to work the team to win so that your team won't be eliminated, but simultaneously gives you sort of the incentive to try to be a ball hog and stuff, to make sure you aren't eliminated if they are. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's kind of like the sort of thing I might even see. And there's you've never heard of it. It never got an anime, but there's this manga called Liar Game, and it was all about like people going through these sort of games that kind of a lot of times had that sort of like psychological element to them, and such. So yeah, this definitely was fun. The weird sort of I like fan service. I mean, I assume this stuff was done as fan service for like the girls. I remembered that Haikyuu, for example, apparently had a big like female fan base. So you have the cute guys get sweaty in sports. Well, that brings in the female demographic, and if you make sure they're shirtless, or in one case simply naked, that would definitely work even better. So yeah, good series, good episode that made me really interested in where it goes. Okay, so then we got the last one of them, RWBY Ice Queendom episode 3. So this one is, let's see, there's some stuff in which I guess, people have to work better as a team and stuff. And we find, the others find out about Blake being, whatever that, the group that has the animal ears are. Then there's some stuff, and I think this is the parts that is leading into the other rest of this series, but wasn't in like the original series, about like the stuff getting the weird sort of, I don't know what they called it, but the thing that's like showing up on people's necks, it gives them that like apparently gives them some kind of nightmare thingy or whatever, and there's that. So yeah, anything, yeah, that was the big stuff in the episode.
Hold on, I got distracted here for a second. So what are we talking about again? I'm sorry, I got distracted.
We were talking about RWBY's Ice Queendom, episode 3.
Yeah, so basically, I liked how Weiss was, wanting to do things on her own and not wanting to get along with the team, and then realizing I don't know. It was kind of like Blue Lock. I mean, they kind of realize they have to work as a team. I still don't understand why the yellow girl is there, because she kind of seems to be useless right now. Like it seems to only be Ruby, Weiss, and Blake as the important characters. So hopefully she does something. But yeah, I like the dynamic between Weiss and Ruby of how they don't like each other. And I could have sworn I knew who these voice actresses were, but when I looked them up, I'm like, nope, never heard of any of them. So, yeah, I thought it was a pretty good episode.
Yeah, in terms of the voice actors, they were mostly not really. They kind of, a lot of them I think kind of started out with in RWBY and stuff, because the voices we have here, again, RWBY was originally this this anime inspired internet web series. And then when they decided to make the anime, they were like, okay, well, let's just have all the people from the original series dub it. Mm-hmm. So we're not getting the usual sort of group for people for the dub. Mm-hmm. There's like a few people that like I'm glancing over the voice cast. Yeah, like J. Michael Tatum was someone in them, but yeah, for the most part, it's a different. It's not the usual like groups and stuff. Mm-hmm. So when it was focusing on the stuff that I think was the original like stuff, yeah, that was okay. I was less interested in all like the stuff where they're talking about nightmare stuff, and I was like, oh, that's less interesting, and that's I think the stuff that they added for this series that wasn't in the original. Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah. So, I guess we've kind of put off on it. Do you have any thoughts on what we might want to choose to keep going with?
I'm kind of torn, actually. I'm pretty torn between RWBY and Blue Lock, and I think I'm just going to probably end up watching both of them, even if we don't do it on this podcast. So
yeah, sorry, keep going.
So yeah, I don't know if I really have a preference. I like both of them. I think both of them have made significant progress in 3 episodes. You know, this 3 episode rule really is a thing, because I noticed that whenever I watch something and I watch 3 episodes and it isn't good, like I never end up liking the thing by episode 13 or anything. I can't think of a single anime where I hated it for the first 3 episodes and then suddenly it's like, oh man, this is great.
Well,
maybe I can't remember.
How do you mean by like hated? Do you mean just being apathetic, or do you mean actively really disliking it?
Well, both.
Okay, because I can toss out an example: Black Clover. Weren't you like pretty like meh on it, and we kind of stopped watching it, and then later on you kind of started watching it because, well, we just started watching more stuff on Toonami, and you got much more into it?
No, I'm saying 3 episodes.
Oh.
So I'm saying the 3 episode rule, because we watched Black Clover for about, I don't know, 20 some episodes before I got bored with it. So no, Black Clover doesn't fall in that category, but this is the 3 episode rule, where if you don't like something through the first 3 episodes, you're not going to like it, 13 episodes in, or 26 episodes, or whatever. So I think it's a pretty good rule to have. Now, there are things that have managed to start out good and turn out bad. There was something, in fact, I was going to bring up, but I can't remember what it is. Man, what? There is something. There was something I wanted to tell you that. Oh, man,
Naruto, Bleach, or those are like the big ones I can think of where people like, oh, it had a great start, but then it got kind of worse as it went on.
Yeah, I'm racking my brain. There was something this week where I said I was going to say this second season is as bad as Glee, and I can't remember what show that was. What was it?
I don't
Maybe
know.
I can find it on my Twitter. I don't know.
What series have you been? I know you've been watching Survivor and Lego Masters. Was it one of them or?
Hold on.
Well, while you try to figure it out, I might as well weigh in on the series, because I had some thoughts. So with Chainsaw Man, I do think that you might end up actually coming around on it if we keep going, but I think it would probably not be for a while. Like I said, I turned around on it, but it took, I think the point where I rejoined it, if I'm remembering correctly, would be something that would be in season 2. So it might almost be kind of like if you want to check it out again, maybe it would be better to like just, put it aside, and then maybe if season 2 comes out, check out something then. I mean, I do think maybe you'd start to like it more as it went on. I do think as some of the development happens, you'd like some stuff more. But the bottom line is we are faced with a series you might end up liking versus series that you are currently enjoying. So it obviously would, go for the latter, group is obviously the preferable one. Plus, since I've already read Chainsaw Man, I wouldn't be getting anything new out of it anyway.
Yeah. It was Spy Family. That's what I was thinking of.
Oh.
Because Spy Family, I haven't enjoyed the second season at all. Or is it even a second season, or is it a second part? I don't know what they call it.
Second part, I think. It's a split season.
Right. I have not enjoyed it so far after really, really liking the first part of it. So that's kind of disappointing. But I'm holding out hope that it returns to its roots. And here's something I wanted to say about Spy Family that I forgot to say. Like, if Anya's really psychic, then how come her abilities seem to be like it seems like sometimes she can use them and sometimes she doesn't. And like if she really had psychic powers, then she should have seen that she was going to make Damien's thing be the top-rated art project, because she can see the future. So
no, she can't see the future. She can read minds. The dog is the one with the ability to see the future. She could only see the future because she was reading the dog's mind.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Okay. Thank you for explaining that to me.
Okay. So okay, we not Chainsaw Man. Maybe come back to it or maybe not. There's a lot of other series, and going with the ones you like rather than the ones you might like makes some more sense, especially because since you're more of an anime reader, like manga goes by much faster. So there's Blue Lock and there's Ruby Ice Queendom. Both of them I think are pretty decent. I think Blue Lock's I'm liking a little more. The main concern I have is the fact that what we've been watching is again all adapted from the original series, and after this we go into original territory. Now that admittedly, since it's new stuff, maybe it would be better or maybe it would be worse, but because it's no longer based on that, it gives me some like concerns. I did look because I was curious, and I did notice that the score for this. Now, obviously, I always take my anime list scores with a grain of salt. Some stuff that I think was not great is super high rated, and some stuff I think was great is like astoundingly low in some cases. But I did notice this series is, because I pulled it up on like via archives and stuff, and saw that at the score did go down over the course of the season, which makes me think, oh, maybe it got worse or something. Whereas Blue Lock doesn't seem to have that, like, the season's not over, so maybe it'll get really bad. But it does seem like it might be the safer thing because it's all by the same like person. The manga, it's not like the guy started and someone else took it over. It's all by them, which I think would probably give a higher consistent quality and stuff. On the other hand, I do remember reading that so who's your quick question, who's your favorite of the characters in RWBY?
Twice.
Okay. Well, a criticism I did hear of this season is that basically it's very, very Weiss-centric. People say, it's basically just her and the others are along for the ride. On the other hand, that might actually be more interesting for you. So there's that. But again, I do wonder a little about it going into an original thing. I was honestly even considering the possibility, well, what if we just watch both? But then I kind of started wondering about, going into like up to 5 things. I guess you could always drop JoJo down to 1, but I'm kind of enjoying watching 2 episodes per week of it. On the other hand, RWBY's Queendom is completely dubbed, so we could, I guess, maybe speed through some stuff, like when Toonami's not, during the weeks where Toonami's not around, and we've got like no Toonami this upcoming week. So I don't know what are your thoughts on that? If you could just pick one based on some of the stuff I've been seeing, which would you be more interested in, or do you want to try to go with both?
I was thinking that if we choose one to watch together, RWBY makes more sense than Blue Lock, because Blue Lock is kind of a sports thing, and I don't know, you and I may not see it the same way because I look at everything through a sports lens, and you're not really into sports, so I was thinking that one might not entertain you as much.
Oh no, so, Blue Lock had been perfectly entertaining for me so far. I think like this 3rd episode, if I were to rank them, I think I probably like it the most of the 3.
Oh, yeah, well, it's up to you. What do you want to continue?
Oh, well, I wanted to leave it up to you as to what we do. Let me just think. I'm sorry to any listeners as we kind of awkwardly try to figure this out live. Let me just double check. I kind of feel some things. I was thinking of suggesting, well, we could do it almost kind of elimination. Okay, so Chainsaw Man's dropped. Now let's watch one more episode of these and decide which to do. Except I know if we do that, then we're just going to kind of lock ourselves into watching them fully.
Yeah.
Just thinking about because one of the reasons I wasn't so interested initially about trying both was the fact that I might, having that many series, I'd want to get all that done with by the end of the like before the end of the year, because there's a newest season of anime. I might want to be. I'm not sure if I'm going to try my whole. I'll check everything else out. But if I do, then there's no way I can be like watching that many shows for this. So, what did you say your preference was?
RWBY.
Okay, just thinking about it. Do you what do you think about the possibility of just doing them both? Is that like too much, or
I'm up for it because I already kind of like both shows. So,
okay, I'm thinking of considering the fact that we don't have any Toonami this week, so we'd have extra slots anyway, and they always go off for a while towards the end of the year. And we don't even know what they'll be doing at. For all we know, they won't be adding anything like new until next year. We could, this would mean that we could be, I'm just suddenly thinking about, if we do that, we would want to be going through some stuff more quickly. The one that I'm more interested in is Blue Lock, but if you want to watch RWBY, we can do that or try both.
yeah, I think for now we should try both, and then at least, like, what are we doing this week, given that there's no Toonami?
I was thinking maybe we could try to, because we are a little behind the dubs on both of them, we could try to like almost maybe even like double up on some of the stuff, get through 2 episodes of Spy Family, or maybe not, or maybe go through these. I guess we could always just watch an episode of each and then just try to play it by ear, maybe.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, I guess maybe we'll do that then. Watch another episode of each, and then next week we'll figure out if we're going to keep going with that or if we're not.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry to any listeners who had to wait through all of our stuff there. It's the problem of deciding to decide these things live. Okay, we've gotten that. So we'll be having those for now, and then we'll see what we do. Okay. Let me just think. Okay, so 1 episode of each of those. Okay. Anything else we might want to be doing? You don't want to, like, I guess, be trying for 2 episodes of each of them. That would be even more than we watched this week. Forget that.
Yeah, that would be probably too much this week. But if we go with 2 of Spy Family, 2 of JoJo, then yeah.
Okay, we could.
And 1 each of the other 2. So yeah.
Oh, you do want to be watching 2 Spy Family episodes then?
Yeah.
We are behind. Okay, so we'll do it like that, and then we'll figure something out. So sorry to everyone. You listened to all of that, and we still didn't decide which of the 2 we'd be going for. All right, there. That's our lengthy stuff there. I hope it. It probably wasn't worth it to go through that to get to the end. Sorry. All right. What next? Top 3 stuff.
Yep. Top 3 time. Yeah, let's see. And this is a tough one to choose.
Would you like?
Okay, I'm gonna go with Yashahime in 3rd place, RWBY in 2nd place, and Blue Lock in 1st place.
Okay. For me, I think, well, despite the fact they spent a lot of it criticizing it, I mean, it's JoJo, so so even a weaker episode is going to place decently. So, JoJo will RWB episode will be third, Yashahime in second, and then, I think I liked Blue Lock the most. Really, I feel it got me like the most interesting. Ooh, I really want to see what happens next of all this stuff. Okay. All right. Although I know we were talking about watching 2 episodes of. Yeah, never mind. We can just keep going. With what we're doing for. Yeah, we'll go with that plan for now. Right. Sorry. I'm very indecisive. Okay, so that was our discussion on that stuff. I guess, all right, we're done with all the anime stuff. We can just talk about anything that happened on the Amazing Race.
Yeah, pretty predictable. We knew which 2 were going to be behind, and we knew that with those other teams helping each other out, that obviously none of those teams were going to go because they're helping each other out, and I hate it. I know it's a strategy, but it's really unfair, and it really takes away from my enjoyment of the show whenever you've got these alliances of teams helping each other, because it's not like Survivor, where Survivor you form an alliance to help yourself. You don't do it because you're trying to help out someone else. You do it so you can go farther in the game. You get rid of your alliances, a few episodes later. You don't stay, most of the time you don't stay with the same people for the alliance the whole time. Now, there have been some boring seasons where they have, and that's whenever they got called Rob Zombies, because everyone was following whatever Boston Rob wanted them to do, and they the nickname the fans gave to them was Rob Zombies. So, but most of the time, that's not the case, at least not anymore on Survivor. And so I do not like the alliance system on The Amazing Race. And I think it's kind of obvious who the final 3 are going to be at this point. And I can pretty much guarantee which 2 are going to be either the winner or second place. But it's been a bit of a predictable season this year, and they have tried to edit things to build drama, but it hasn't worked with me. So, this season, it's been pretty good, but there are some things I don't like about it. Last season, I think I was spoiled by last season because it was really good.
I don't really have a problem with them working together this season. It's at least like nothing compared to how it was 2 seasons ago. And honestly, I saw so much dislike of how the alliance stuff played out, where literally a challenge was just, okay, the one no one could figure out, where they just decided, okay, we'll just, try every combination. It was the one where you had to choose the flags and put them in an order. I can't remember the specifics, but where 3 of the teams who had the alliance, they just said, okay, we'll just manually brute force it by checking every single combination until we get it right.
Right, I remember that.
Yeah, and of course, when you got 3 people doing that, you'll get it done faster than the other one. Maybe that team, maybe they should have just, I don't think they were brute forcing it, but maybe they should have kind of tried, because even if the other teams are doing it 3 times as fast, you still might get you might get fortunate and have it before, they do. But yeah, I saw a lot of people really dislike that. So I was a little surprised you didn't kind of make a ban on that sort of thing going forward, but I guess they didn't. My issue is more, I just kind of have found a lot of the challenges not that interesting to watch.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's a lot of acting going on too. You can tell that a lot of these people who are on the show are playing things up for the cameras, and it's a little annoying because it's like they find the camera and they make a pose right into the camera, and it's like, you know, I know you want to become a reality star. So if you're a reality star, then you get invited to all the other reality shows. But it just puts it off for me, you know.
Yeah, not that much else to really say about the episode other than that. I don't know, but yeah, I guess we'll see what happens next week then. Did they say, I didn't actually get a watch the preview for next one. Did they have anything interesting in it, or like the time where they had like the positive COVID test, which actually was interesting? Usually they just like show a few brief things and you like don't even have any context. You're like, well, that didn't tell me anything.
Yeah, that was kind of what this one was.
Okay. All right. So I guess that's it for those. We've got our other schedule stuff planned. So we'll be just going, I guess we'll be holding on to both Blue Lock and RWBY's Queendom, at least for now, and doubling up on Spy Family. Although, I was wondering if maybe for one of those it might make a little more sense to try to get through it faster, because there's a bunch more of RWBY available than the others. But then again, I don't really know which one we would want, especially because we haven't committed to them. So yeah, let's just stick with the Spy Family.
Okay.
Is
that it?
Yeah, that's it. Yes, another, I guess one facet of watching a bunch of shows is that it makes us, talk a lot longer, for better or for worse. So, everyone, we'll see you next week, and we'll try to spend a little less time, figuring things out live.
That's it?
Yeah, that's the end.
Oh, bye.
This one's been out for a while, but once you fire up Neon White, it's hard to put down. You play as White, the lost soul plucked from hell and tasked with exterminating demons from heaven. It's all about the need for speed. If you're on point, each level takes less than a minute. If not, it's try again until you finish the mission. It takes some time to learn which soul cards to use when, but soon enough, you'll be flying high and dealing death at every turn. The further you go, the harder it gets, but when an epic run finally comes together, it sure is satisfying. You'll have to out-hustle the other Neons while battling through 12 chapters and 97 levels to finally clear your name. I'm not quite there yet, but if I keep playing my cards right, Judgment Day awaits. The only downside, there's a ton of dialogue to sit through, but when it comes to fun, Neon White does a lot of things right. We give it a 9 out of 10. Sweet salvation.